There we go.
Hey,
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Everything's good. I'm coming from Kansas City. Where you located?
I'm out in Colorado right now, near Breckenridge.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
we're on mountain time.
Yeah, yeah.
Normally I'm in Baton Rouge is my typical base.
Okay. Wonderful. Yeah, I remember going to Baton Rouge years and years ago, and I could never figure out how that accent assimilated. It was the most fascinating thing I'd ever heard.
On which thing?
The accent, just the dialect and the accent and the way they
Oh
spoke.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, there's a number of unique accents down in South Louisiana.
Yeah,
Baton Rouge has one, Lafayette has one, New Orleans has one.
yeah.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, I was in my mid-20s working for an architectural engineering firm. We were working on a presentation, and at that point in my life, I'd never heard anything like that, and I was just captivated. It was almost like hearing a British accent. I was like, how is that happening? So
Yeah. You
it was
you
pretty
know, there are still some relatively isolated spots in Louisiana where people speak French first.
okay. Okay.
It's remarkable that that could still be going on,
Yeah,
in 2023.
absolutely. It is for sure. Well, hey, it's great to meet you, and I want to kick our conversation off with the last 3.5 years living through a pandemic. How did you get through it, and how did it change you now that we're kind of coming out and things are opening up now?
Well, man, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think I would answer it. Oh, is the audio okay? You want me to plug in my headset or
I'm getting, I'm
is it
getting,
okay?
yeah, I'm getting you pretty clear. I think we're in good shape.
All right. Um, So yeah, I would answer that two ways. One personally for me, and then one for my business. Um, we I have a startup that's about 4 years old, and we teach business and economics to kids across the web, all over the world. Um, and so I had a big impact to my business as well as a big impact to my life. For me, I'm like a kind of an introvert and low key kind of guy, but being just shut off from society was hard on me. I mean, it's like, what the hell? You're not supposed to leave your house. You can't go to a restaurant. People give you nasty looks if you're not wearing a mask,
Yep.
and it was taxing. I am so sympathetic to people who already, maybe they're very social, or maybe they already had some mental health difficulties, and all of a sudden this got dropped on them. I can hardly imagine. I mean, children committed suicide. I know a family where a healthy 16-year-old killed himself,
Wow.
and so it was tough. If I didn't have at the time, I had this big, beautiful Rhodesian Ridgeback, and we just started going out to the park and spending the day uh, there. And if I didn't have something like that, man, it would have been very, very hard.
Yeah.
That was just me personally. In fact, right now I've been campaigning against our state representative, who was just terrible on the COVID response in our area.
Yeah.
So, and she's up for reelection, so we're trying to get rid of her. But so yeah, I came through it. I mean, fine, but it was rocky. For
Yeah.
my business, you know, we we drop into classrooms anywhere in the world practically overnight and bring really advanced business and economics to really young kids. So it's it's sort of a revolutionary thing that we're doing. But when COVID hit, all the schools stopped,
Yeah.
and our business just stopped. But fortunately, I built it as a very, very low cost business. So I wasn't, you know, I wasn't laying off people. I didn't have a cash flow that was killing me. We just kind of went into hibernation and worked more on on our curriculum and lessons that were on the drawing board and that kind of thing. And but even then, after the emergence, in schools, they had them jumping through the craziest hoops, separating kids by 6 feet, and barriers in the classroom, and masks, and testing, taking their temperature every day. One kid has a high temperature, the whole class goes home for a week. Just and so for another good year, schools were doing nothing but managing the COVID response. So again, that really hampered our business a lot. But now in the last year, 18 months, we've been getting back on track, and getting back to work. So thank God.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get to the crux of exactly what you do for a living. If I put you in front of a bunch of third graders, it's career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I'd say that I have a web-based business, and that we figured out how, through a lot of trial and error, to teach really advanced stuff to really young kids. And and we built that out. I mean, this is an age when the opportunities are greater than ever. You can have an idea that has an extremely narrow focus, but you can reach out to several billion people across the world, and find your audience more easily than ever. And so I'm one of the entrepreneurs that's working in that space. And and that's an opening for artists, and for musicians. And now you don't need a label anymore, right? You can go straight to your customers. And that's a new world. That's a fantastic thing. And I would encourage those little kids, think about your life in those terms, the possibilities that opens for you.
So when you were in the third grade, what was your dream? What did you want to grow up and become when you were older?
Wow. Third grade. Third grade. I'm not sure I remember who my third grade teacher was. Mrs. Slack was in the fourth grade. And I tell you, I had no idea at the time. My horizons were very narrow. It was like, what's for dinner? What's up with my dog? When do I go out and play?
Yeah.
It was the world. I grew up in Alexandria, Louisiana. At the time, it was a tiny southern town. And it's just, the world was fairly, that the horizons were fairly close in. And so it's nothing like today. We have one of the exercises we do with sixth graders is they sit down and think about what they want to do with their life, and they design a business card, and then they introduce themselves to each other, and learned all that routine, and maybe make up an elevator pitch. And the things, people say, well, isn't it kind of early for that? And it's not. These kids are. I have a bunch of business cards from 5 years ago, and they have kids who said they were going to be an engineer, and now they're like a senior in engineering. Or in one case, there was a girl that said she was going to be an astronaut. She's at NASA now.
Wow.
So at these very early ages, they really are thinking about these things, and it's not too soon for them to be kind of mapping out their next steps.
So let me ask you this. Who's been kind of an inspiration, a hero for you in your life that's helped you get where you're at?
You know, the youngest I can remember is Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
And I was reading his biographies when I was not in the third grade, but probably the sixth grade. And that guy is really so amazing, such a polymath, into everything: architecture, politics, math, um, economics, you name it. And also such a thoughtful and and considerate guy. He was so shy. This guy was so shy, he never spoke in a group of people. You had to talk to him one on one.
Wow.
Who knew that? This is
Yeah.
the guy that inspired freedom around the world with the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And yet he was so shy he could hardly talk to anybody.
Wow.
But he was also a great horseman and great with a rifle. Just a super accomplished guy. So he had a huge influence on me in many, many ways.
So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now that's inspirational to you, who would you love to meet and talk to?
I think it'd have to be Musk.
Okay.
He has got, again, so many dimensions to him. He's hard to nail down as far as exactly what's going on, but he's extremely influential. He goes his own way. He's not he doesn't just echo the current slogans to try to get along. What was the most recent one? Oh, yeah, I think he said the left hates Jews. Like, and he just puts out these short little
Yeah.
things, and it's so provocative, and so many people react to it. I also hear that he's an excellent engineer,
Yeah.
um, and a real, committed to truth. Uh, what he did with Twitter was amazing. It it looked like, and it still may have been a bad business deal for him. Um, I think the amount of money that he's put into Twitter could potentially threaten his ownership in Tesla if things were not to go right for him.
Yeah.
But he's a gambler. He's like, okay, I'm making this move, going
Yeah.
with his gut, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it'd have to be Musk for anybody who's alive today.
So
Not that he was called.
you never know. You never know. We'll get it out there. So it's interesting, for someone like Elon, there's so much motivation and inspiration that goes into what he does. What is that for you? What gets you out of bed every day? What gets you to want to accomplish and meet the goals that you have for your life?
For me, what I did a long career in industry, and I learned all the things that I'm teaching kids now about business and economics are things I learned firsthand. And it's so useful and helpful to them. This is like, if you teach somebody physics, then they understand how the world works, and they can work with the stove in their house or their air conditioner, their car. They can understand how these things operate. And economics is how the social world operates, how people function together. And it's so incredibly helpful to know that as a child. And so the stories that we get back from schools, the impact that we have. I mean, when you're teaching kids, you're interacting with their minds. It's I mean and it's a beautiful thing, and it's also a very weighty thing, because this is and it's not your child, some other person's child's mind that you're interacting with. And so you have to be extremely careful about that and extremely mindful of, what you're doing. So, but then the feedback that we get, a principal told me the other day that she overheard two girls in the lunch line, and one says to the other, "How much do you think the profit margin is on those Nutri-Grain bars?" I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So every day we're in their heads. They're adopting the language. They have these experiences in class that they continue to talk about later. Becomes part of their culture. And so, I mean, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning is to give that to more and more kids.
So speaking of youth, if you were to have a dream tonight, you ran into a younger version of yourself, say your senior year in high school, you could give
Mm.
that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained, the successes you've had, the things you've overcome. What advice would you give that younger self?
I would say get off your ass and get to work. Stop screwing around. I was a real late bloomer. and again had very narrow horizons for much of the time. And I would say, open your eyes, see the world, and get going. I mean, I stayed in high school an extra year. I could have graduated when I was at the end of my junior year, but I was too busy with girls and track and wanted to hang around and just play. And I would have said, you know, get your ass in gear.
So, of all of the people that you've touched and all of the people you've helped motivate and change, what's been one of your favorite success stories? One that always puts a smile on your face?
Well, I guess there have been a few, but one of the beautiful things is, you know, the first thing. Almost none of our teachers have any background in business and economics, and their first response about teaching middle school MBAs, they got, "Whoa, this is above my head. This is no, I don't think I can do this." And then once they get into it, they go, "Wow, I understand it. It's easy. I always wanted to know this. This is so cool." And and so one of the things that's happened a couple of times is I'll have a teacher that says, I'm a little intimidated about this. Could you come team teach this with me for a while? You come teach a class and I'll watch you do it, and then I'll teach a class, and so I go, okay. And I'll go show up at their school, and so it'll go, maybe the first day we do that, and then the second day maybe we do it again. On the third day, they're like, "Why are you still in my classroom? Get out of here." Which is, they tend to be a little possessive about their rooms, and and very quickly they become confident, and they're just like, "You can leave. We don't need you anymore."
Yeah.
That's really nice, because my one of my big concerns was whether a teacher with no background in business could teach this stuff. And and what I found is they're actually better than I am, because they
Mhm.
have real teaching skills. They're actual teachers, and they know every child in the class. So they know how to push their buttons, how fast to go with them, all that kind of stuff. You just show up as a volunteer teacher. You don't know any of that.
Yeah.
And and so it's really beautiful to see them pick up this bundle of knowledge that I've handed over to them, and teach it better than I can. That's
Yeah.
that's amazingly rewarding.
So everyone out there, John, has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Boy, that's a tough question. Where do you get
That
these tough questions?
I
Uh,
think about it.
who do I think I am? I'm this kid who was dyslexic, who kind of stumbled around um, as a child. I was overweight. You know I struggled with a number of things, and a few people along the way have kind of helped me find my path, and now I'm just this dude walking his path, and this is the path I got, and for better or for worse, it's my job to walk it. So that's just what I'm doing.
A great answer. So, John, if anyone wants to hire you, learn more about you, reach out, how do they do that?
Middleschoolmba.com is the best way to reach us. You can see everything about middle school MBA. There's a connect page to contact us. So middleschoolmba.com. That's it.
Excellent. This has been wonderful. John, thank you so much for your story. Thanks for your time, and best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and thanks for the hard questions this early in the morning. I appreciate that.
Along with the coffee, the questions that'll just wake you up.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Have a good day, man.
Thank you. You too.
Nice to meet you. Take
It
care.
was an honor.